Praise the Lord. Good morning, everyone. We bless the Lord for today. Just like he said after the testimony, we found it necessary to just give a little introduction. So we'll be checking on fire safety awareness. Just a little things we know in terms of fire. There are different fire extinguishers. We are going to be talking about them and how to use them. But before we go there, what is fire? We may not bother you with many of the definitions, but it's just a process of burning whereby fuel burns in the presence of oxygen, which generates light, sometimes smoke, and on and on. Please move on. Then what I think that causes fire in the home or in the workplace. The first thing that causes fire is carelessness. That is the first thing. Then we have negligence. It could be arson when it's a deliberate attempt, somebody sets fire on somebody. And then we have acts of God. That's why we have thunder, lightning. Poor electrical wiring. Under that, we also have sometimes poor standard materials, inferior materials using electrical fire. And then overloading of sockets. When our socket is overloaded, when the current is passing, it gets heated up due to resistance, and then it could lead to fire. Then we have poor housekeeping. This one concerns us very much. We have, in our various homes, a lot of people pack a lot of loads here and there, and these things have a way of generating heat on their own. And so when the house is not tidy, the things we don't need, we can give them out so that our houses can be clean enough. So poor housekeeping can lead to fire incident. Dust accumulating in the vents of your AC and all those things could also lead to that. So we have the fire triangle. Can we say the fire triangle? Fire triangle, let's say it together. So the fire triangle simply shows us what are the things that are called, the three elements that must be present for fire to occur. Number one there is oxygen, which is air. Number two is heat, present ignition source, and then we have fuel. The oxygen is air. Right here where we are, there is air here, we can breathe air. The air is here. We have heat here. If you have your thermometer, you can check your temperature. It might be up to 37 or 36 degrees Celsius. We have fuel here, but why is there no fire? It is not in the right proportion. When you bring these three elements in the right proportion, then there will be fire. So the basic principle of trying to keep a place safe is to ensure that these three elements do not meet that right proportion. As long as they don't come in the right proportion, there will be no fire. The fuel can be there, the heat can be there, the oxygen can be there, but there wouldn't be fire. So we are going to be focusing on how to ensure that we don't bring this to the right proportion. Now let's break it down a little further. By fuel, we mean anything that can burn. We're not referring to just PMS or AGU as the case might be. Anything that can burn. They could be in solid form, solid state, liquid or gas. The rug here, the things around the chair, human beings are fuel. Even this iron is fuel. All these things are fuel, but they all have their ignition temperature, different ignition temperatures, but they all can burn. Then oxygen, like we say, is air. When the oxygen is below 16%, the fire cannot ignite. Above 21%, the fire also cannot ignite. So between 16% and 21%, the fire can ignite. So if you're able to remove oxygen to the point it is below 16%, there will be no fire. Even if it is a petrol that is there, put your matches, it will not ignite. Because the oxygen cannot support combustion. Then we have ignition source, which can be anything. It can be your matches, your lighters that we use, heat, source of heat from exhaust, engines, and all hot plates. These are all ignition sources. So when these three things come in the right proportion, then we can have fire. Let's go on. Then we want to just, for the basic of knowing, we have various classes of fire. 5 basically. We have what they call Class A fires, which generally involve the solids. fire that concerns like things is burning, that's what we call Class A fires. Wood, paper, other. Class B fires are flammable liquids. That's why your PMS comes in, your paint, and all that, gasoline. Those are Class B fires. We have the Class A fires, which involve gases, the hydrocarbon gases, and all that. The gas we use in cooking in our homes, they are part of Class C fires. Then metals. We also have metals that burn, and then cooking gases, the Class K fire. You may not step with the classes of fires, but then to look at more, you can see the acronym there. You can see A on green, B. That's also how you see it when you look at the extinguishers. Know which extinguisher that can be ideal for a particular fire. You see label there. If extinguisher can serve Class A fire, it will be on the body. You see A. If it can serve for Class B fires, it will be on the body. If it can serve for Class C fires, it will be on the body. So any extinguisher you get, you see if you can serve for ABC, you see them write ABC on the extinguisher. That's to help you know that it can serve those inscriptions. But just for us to know, let's move on to the next slide, please. Now, extinguisher media. These are just the various items you use to extinguish fire in our homes, in the vehicle, in the offices, wherever, even in the school, wherever it might occur. There are various of them, various classes, various types, depending on the kind of fire. So we have the most abundant and widespread extinguisher media we know is water. That's what everybody knows, water. So sometimes they come in bottles. You have water. You have dry chemical powder, what they call GCP. GCP extinguisher. We're going to be showing us them. Like this extinguisher here is a dry chemical powder extinguisher. It's a powder extinguisher. Different powders for different. This also a dry chemical powder extinguisher, the ones we have in our vehicles. Then we have the foam. We have the CO2, carbon 4 oxide. This is a carbon 4 oxide extinguisher. This one is also a carbon 4 oxide extinguisher. So we are going to be demonstrating with a few of them and show us a little more. Let's move on. Then we now want to start talking about how to extinguish fire and make use of this. And for us to do that, we have to get back to the Bible. And what does it say in Proverbs 26:20? It says, where there is no wood, what happens? The fire goes out. So any place there is fire, if you're able to isolate any of those triangles, if you can remove heat or wood, the heat, oxygen or fuel, that fire will go out. So that's what the Bible is saying here. Where there is no fuel, contemporary English brings out, must say, where there is no fuel, the fire will go out. Even if you light fire here and you're able to remove the fuel, the fire will end. So let's move on. So that's simply what he's saying there, that where there is no fire. Now look at, like I said, the fire triangle. When those three items, heat, oxygen, or fuel, meet in right proportion, there is fire. So for you also to extinguish fire, just target any of them, any of the three arms. Any one of them you're able to remove, that fire will go off. If you're able to remove the heat, if you're able to remove the oxygen, the fire will go off. If you're able to remove the fuel, any of the arms will break, the fire will go off. And then how do you do that? For heat, it is when something is on fire, you see people pour water. What are they trying to do? They are trying to reduce the temperature. So if you reduce that temperature below ignition temperature, below the burning temperature, the flammable temperature, the fire will go off. So that's what the water does. It cools it. And when it cools it, then that will not be able to, the gases that will enable it burn. What actually burns when anything burns is gas. It must come to a gaseous state before it can burn. Whether it is your wood, stone, anything that is burning must come to gaseous state. So when you use the heat and it's not able to generate the gas, the fire will go off. Then for fear, starvation, like we saw in Proverbs 26, that starve the fuel, cut off the supply of the fuel, where the source of fuel, if it is that is burning, if you can scatter it, you scatter it. If you can supply, for instance, the gas is on fire, you're cooking with the gas, and then there's fire in the kitchen. What do? if you can shut off the gas supply, turn off the gas cylinder, that fire will just go off. That's what the Bible teaches us in Proverbs 26. You have removed the fuel, the fire will go off. Then you can remove heat by cooling. You also can remove oxygen by smoldering. This smoldering is an ancient thing our grandmothers do, even though they didn't go to school. How do they do it? Even some of us are practicing in our homes to remove oxygen. How do you do it? You're frying something, and then fire ignites in your frying pan. Has anybody experienced it here before? What do? You just look for a lead and do what? And cover that pot. You have just removed oxygen. That thing you did was just to cut off oxygen. As you cover that pot, there's no more oxygen supply into that oil that was burning, and the fire will go off. So you're already a fireman and a firewoman by that you're doing. Praise the Lord. So you now do it with more knowledge. When you're able to remove the oxygen, the fire will just go off in that instant. So let's do either by starvation or by removing heat, like we say, through cooling. We are going to be demonstrating with a few of these. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so we now want to see how do you use a portable fire extinguisher. These are portable fire extinguishers. They are meant to be used at the incipient stage of fire. You remember that fire starts gradually and then continue to burn and increase. So at that point where the fire was just starting, that is where these extinguishers can be very useful. How do you use it? There is a word there, pass. Pass. That word, can we say pass? Pass. The first P stands for pull. Say pull. A stands for aim. First S stands for squeeze. And then sweep. That's just the acronym. Now we are going to be doing that. Please, can we have some fire here? Hope you don't mind, please. We want to do a practical thing. We will be igniting fire, and it will be controlled. So these are going to be using this CO2 extinguisher. It doesn't stain the place, because if you use it, the powder will mess up this place. So we're not going to use this one here because it will. Thank you very much. So we are going to be using this CO2 extinguisher. It's actually, it's just gas. That gas you breathe, when we breathe in oxygen. When we breathe out in elementary school, what did they teach us? We breathe out what? Carbon dioxide. So it is that carbon dioxide you breathe out, that is what is inside this place. So if you can breathe out enough that can be in a bottle, you can use the extinguish fire. So there's one that I've already put inside here, which we are going to use. So you don't need to be scared about it. It's only something inside you. It's not harmful. So we'll light the fire. Now, we are going to practice what we said now. So the first thing is to pull. This is our safety. This tamper-proof there is just to secure this pin. What we are pulling is the pin. So we just want to pull out this pin, and that is our pull. So when we pull, just pull the tamper-proof with cord. You don't need to start loosening. Just pull the tamper-proof with cord. Now, when you do the next one, you now squeeze, put this way. Because the fire is just here, you now sweep. Now, when you want to use this, what you do is ensure that you will aim at the base of the fire. A lot of people have extinguishers, but they don't know what to use. When they have an extinguisher, they will just stay at a far place and be using the extinguisher. No. You must get to the base. See where that fire is coming out from. Target it. And then just, if you can bend down, you bend down. And then target the base. And then just press, squeeze, and sweep the fire. So the same thing happens for your car extinguisher. Same principle. We'll not use this one here because it will mess up this place. Now, for your car, you have, and then usually from the bonnet, and there is fire. What do? When you open that bonnet, please, you don't open the bonnet completely. Because when you open completely, there will be ingress of oxygen, and the fire will. So just open the bonnet a little. Don't open it full. Just open it little, where your hand, this extinguisher can get in, and target where the fire is coming from, and just pull, squeeze, and what? Aim. Pull, squeeze, and what? So we just practice it that way, and you are done with the fire. Don't open the bonnet completely, because when you open it, there will be more oxygen. And when there's more oxygen, it will have more fluid. The oxygen enables the fire to burn. So that's the same way in the house, any kind of fire. Now, but a few other things we are going to be giving us. Let's go to the next slide. The next slide, please. Now, there are a few further tips we want to give on this. One is that never use water on a live electrical equipment to avoid electrocution. Water is a good conductor of electricity. Now, your switchboard electrical appliance is on fire, and there is still current on that. Please don't use water. If you pour water on that, you stand a chance of being electrocuted. The fire can go out, but you now will die. Somebody say, God forbid. So please, don't use it. So what do? If there is fire on an electrical equipment, please find a way to isolate that power. Look for the switchboard or the cutout or wherever and disconnect. Remove the cutout so that you can now fight the fire. But if you have not done that and you go to use water, then the person is endangering his life. In case of gas fire, turn off the gas cylinder before attacking the fire. You are in the kitchen, you have the oven, and then our sister testified, or when he went to light, he didn't know that the place was there, and then, boom, fire came out. Please, if such things happen, in as much as you have the extinguisher, aim at knocking off the gas cylinder first. Because if you don't knock it off and use your extinguisher on that fire, the fire can never go out. Remember Proverbs chapter 26. If the fuel is there, the fire will continue. So isolate the fuel and the fire will go off. Then fire extinguishers are not costly. Fire extinguishers are not what? They are not 3,000 naira or thereabout. You can get a fire extinguisher. And you need it in your home. You can never tell. Somebody will say, God forbid there will be no fire. Yes, God will forbid. And that is why, because God is forbidding it, that's why he wrote it in the Bible. So that you can get a fire extinguisher. One for your house. Get one for your car. It's not for road safety people. It's for who? For who? It's for you. Not to present to road safety so that you can pass. You need it. You can use it to save your neighbor. You can use it to save your neighbor. So they are not costly. You can get one. Fires are best fought at incipient stage. I've said that one before. When they are just starting, you can see the fire. We're able to extinguish it because it was still tender. If it has grown to be burning everywhere, these extinguishers will not do much. Then, in case of electrical fires, where safe and possible, turn off the power supply. We've said that already. Now, number 6 is very important. It says, smoke kills faster than the flame or heat. What kills firemen and people in fire is smoke, not the flame. Somebody can be burned even up to 3rd degree and they can survive for the next 1 hour or 2 hours, or even can be survive it. Hydrocarbons burn. When this thing burn, what they come out of them is carbon monoxide. And when you inhale this carbon monoxide, that's why people die from generator inhalation. What you inhale is carbon. Thank you, please. So what you inhale is carbon monoxide, and it kills faster because it reacts with the oxygen in the blood and forms, instead of oxygen reacts in the blood and forms oxyhemoglobin. But when you now inhale the carbon monoxide, it forms carboxyhemoglobin, which the body cannot absorb. So in 4 minutes, there is no supply of oxygen to the brain shuts off, and the person dies. So what do you do in case there's already fire? You wake up and the whole house is engulfed in fire. You can do something. What can you do? Please bend down. Smoke is lighter than air. That's why smoke usually goes up. So any place, no matter how smoke-filled a place is, the ground is as clear as anything. So what you do, just crawl, and you can come out. You can come out from the place. The house is on fire, and you want to go and rescue your child or rescue somebody, just crawl on the ground. If you run standing, you will be inhaling the smoke, and your vision will be blurred. You will not be seeing clearly. You are not seeing very well, and you're inhaling the smoke. And the person can go, after some 4 minutes, there's no supply of oxygen to the brain, the person collapses. He becomes a victim, becomes a casualty. So crawl on the ground. It makes it safe. Even if there's already flame in the place, and somebody is trapped, and you need to rescue that person, what do? You can just get a blanket, soak it with enough water, and then crawl on the ground. Even the water on the blanket will help to absorb some of the heat that will give you some opportunity to be able to go and come out. But you must crawl on the ground. One, for good visibility, and secondly, to reduce the inhalation of smoke, which will help you. So, brethren, we need to do this in our homes. We said poor housekeeping is one of the things that causes fire. How do you mean by poor housekeeping? People get their fuel and keep it where there is ignition source. You keep your fuel where there is ignition source. What will happen? It can ignite fire, and then you will not start having problems. It is better to prevent fire than to fight fire. Remember, we say fire is a chemical reaction. It's an irreversible reaction. Anything that I've born, you can't reverse it. That's why people that go to hell cannot come out, because there's no reversal of the hellfire. The rich man that pleaded couldn't come out because he had entered there. It's an irreversible chemical reaction. He cannot come out. So please, let's not allow the fire to ignite in the first place. Prevent it. They say prevention is better than what? Cure. So let's aim at prevention of fire. Then before I leave this podium, I also want to advise us, please, that you have your gas cylinders at home. Please ensure that you keep them outside the home. Keep them, get a hose, a longer hose. Don't keep there, because these things can leak. They are man-made. They can leak. And if there's any leakage from the gas cylinder, it will be leaking in the kitchen. And if you don't know, you light your matches, then the whole place will be on flame. So it's better to keep the gas cylinders outside. There are some gadgets you can get. The fire extinguishers, at least, you can get them. You can get a fire blanket in your house, and some other things you can get if you have the means to do that. But most importantly, most fires are caused by poor electrical wiring, inferior gadgets. And when you plug them, chargers, they explode, and these things cause fire. So and then unattended cooking. Let's ensure that when we are cooking, we don't get carried away with phones. Some people are pressing phone and they forget they are cooking and things like that. So stay safe in this era of episodes of joy. Thank you. Remain blessed and rapturable. Thank you, sir.